Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the lovely bumblebee and flower tutorial. Now I'm not sure how this is going to work today. I've got my little doggy out here with me. You may hear some pitter patter in the background. I'll do my best to edit it out, but she wanted to come and join me in the art studio this morning, so here we are. So we were just going over the main part of the petals with the coral, so that's where I'm going to carry on. I'm going to finish off blending these in with the coral pink, and then we'll get on to adding some details, and then we can finish off with a lovely bumblebee. Let's start here. Just the same as we did yesterday, I'm going to come over and blend these colours together that we put on here, going over the dark areas as well. And we're just blending those together. I'm using medium pressure to blend those together there. And you may have actually already finished this section of the flower, so I may be playing catch up with you, but in case you haven't, this is what we are doing. We're just blending this lovely coral, including the lighter sections. So everything's going to be one. And as you saw me do on this petal yesterday, we're going to go over this after that with lighter colours to add a little bit of detail in. And then I'm going to show you how to add the final detail before we start on with the bumblebee. So just continue with medium pressure, blending these colours in. Going over the light pink as well. So hopefully you can see we're getting the nice contrast, and we are also removing some of the tooth of the paper, not all of the tooth of the paper, but some of it. As you can see, I've got a fairly, a fairly flat end on my pencil. That will help greatly with the blending. You don't want a very sharp point because you will absolutely destroy the paper. So blending over these lighter areas too. So that's that side more or less complete. And we'll go up, begin up here on the lighter petal. Sorry about that, guys. Let's check on the dog. She's actually up the top of the garden eating the apples that have fallen from the apple tree. I'll pop a picture up of her. She's so mischievous, honestly. She's nearly 9 now, but she still acts like a puppy. She's just into everything. She's a puggle. She's half pug and half beagle. So you can imagine, it's like a mix of a very energetic hunting dog, as it were, with a little fat lazy dog. So it's quite a mix. She certainly is a character. She's a pain in the bum a lot of the time, but I wouldn't change her for the world. I don't know why she decided she wanted to come out with me today, but she did. So just continue blending these petals. So we've got a little section here left. And just the one left now. Let's go over the dark areas as well. Those are nice blend. So hopefully you can see I wasn't too careful doing that. A little bit more blending there. There. So if you can see the difference of what we did yesterday when we went over with the lighter colour. Okay. So we're going to repeat that. We are going to take the ivory, which is number 103, and we're going to add some of these details into these petals. Now, we did this one already yesterday. Still a few spots to do on that, but I'm going to show you another way to do that. So I'm going to take the ivory, I'm going to come over the lighter parts again. Okay, so coming back over with the ivory, over the lighter parts, and then looking at the main picture, we're just going to add some of the details. We've got a lighter part on the bottom of this petal here, and it's kind of a little bit lighter towards the end here, so we're just adding that part. Okay, same thing here. We're going to come over the lighter area again, the ivory, giving that a final blend. Now you can be quite firm here because this is going to be the final kind of layer of this now. And looking at the picture, we've got just here, we've got some lighter areas going on. So I'm just going to add just a lighter touch to that side of the petal. This is our very light petal, so we'll just go over the whole of that one. Hopefully you can see the difference that's made. It's given us a little bit of dimension on those petals there. Coming up to this one, now this has got a very, very bright edge on this curled portion of this petal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in just on the edge and just kind of reinforce that. And then I'm just going to go over the lighter sections again. I may even come in with a white and add some there. And here we have got some marks that are just basically going in the shape. Remember I said it was like a shell shape. So we've got a lighter edge up here. And then we've just got some. Now they don't have to be super light, it's just the impression. Hopefully you can see that. It's just given, by doing that, it's given the impression of the shape of the petal. Okay, so moving up on this edge, we've got this light edge here, but then just below that we've got some lovely kind of markings on this petal. So we're going to put those in like so. And then on the inside of the petal, we've got the same thing as this here, but it's coming from the top. So again, in the direction of the shape of the petal. So down into the centre there. These ones here, we've got this very, very light one, so we're going to go completely over this with the ivory. It can be quite firm at this stage. Making that one a lot lighter because it's much less like this one. It's much lighter behind there. And then on this one here, we've got these lovely stripes. So I'm going to take a little bit of care there just to give the indication of that stripy marking on that petal just there. And on the top edge of this one, and now we've got some of these spots like we put on here yesterday. We've got some spots and things going on. I'm just going to put these markings again in the direction there. We've got some of these spots and things going on these petals here. So I'm just going to mark where I think, I have to be exact, where roughly these little dots and things are going to be. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to get those and some more details in. Now I'm just going to use my paper stump. Remember I used that yesterday on here? I'm going to use my paper stump just to blend over this area here where we've just put the details in. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing this because I can still see a little bit of the tooth of that paper, so I'd like to burnish that in just a touch more. Here where these stripes are. And get those in a little bit more. That one there. You don't have to burnish it out, which is what I'm doing. I'm trying to flatten the tooth of the paper now to get everything looking smooth. I mean, you really don't have to do that, so I think it's just really preference as to how you like your finished piece to look. And I'm just thinking, seeing as we've got such a lovely little fluffy bumblebee, I'd like the flower to look quite smooth and to give it a nice contrast. So I'm just burnishing a little bit more than I would usually on these petals. And then there's a final step we're going to take, which involves a slice tool, and I will show you that now. Right, let's just clean up. Oops. Just going to clean up around where the dust has fallen a little bit. Give your edges a clean up, don't be mucky like me. There we go, quite happy with that. I'm just going to show you how to put the details in with a slice tool, which is a secret weapon of mine. Okay, so the final details for our actual petals. I'm going to use this. Now, this is a slice tool. I use this a lot for the animals that I do, and I was going to use it on the bee anyway, so I thought I'd show you how we can get some details in on the petals using this. Now, this is essentially a craft knife. It's got a small ceramic blade in it that you can change. It's really easy to change the blade in these, but it's really safe. Now, it will go through very easily paper and things like that. It will cut. It's like a box cutter. Okay, so I normally only have it out tiny touch like that, and it is really useful for fur on animals, to help the definition of fur, and to get some fine details that you might not be able to get with, for example, an eraser. Now, these spots on this flower, you could use, if I can find mine, there it is, you could use a Tombow eraser, okay, to make those, and I'll show you, I'll give you an example. I don't know how much I've got left in mine. We'll try and give you a quick example of the Tombow eraser, and you can just use it to lift some of the pencil to put these marks in. Now, I've burnished this in very well, so this is not lifting so great, but it will, if you persist, it will lift some spots up. There we go. Maybe show you on part that's not so burnished. And just lift off little patches, little areas of colour. With the eraser. But my favourite way is with the slice tool. Now, if you remember, I said this edge here is very, very bright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift some of the colour with my slice tool, and I'm going to show you the difference it makes. So here we go. I'm just going to run the slice tool. I'm just going to make it a bit longer, actually, so there's more of an edge on there. And I'm just going to run it along this edge where I want this bright edge of this petal to be. Now, hopefully you can see this, and it's quite difficult because it's such a small detail. But can you see that? Where it's lifted? Giving it a nice crisp edge there. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to continue lifting areas. Now, you can pick these up on Amazon, I do believe. Most craft shops will have these, but it's the ceramic slice tool, and it is every pencil artist's secret weapon. There are so many things you can do with this. I mean, this is just one of the things you can do, lifting off detail. some of these edges of these petals where they're curled, obviously are catching the light, so they are more detailed. And there's a little spot on this petal there. So you see how easy that was to put that in. Now this petal down here has got quite a few marks on it. It's got some really, really light areas. So I'm just going to go back in. The noise is the worst thing about this. As you can hear, it is quite noisy. So I'm just lifting the areas where I can see these kind of spots and flaws on these petals. And you could leave it perfect, but nature's not perfect, is it? There's always kind of flaws and things going on in nature. So maybe this is an insect that's made this petal kind of spotty like this. But it is a detail that's there, and I do like to put a lot of detail if it has got detail. I mean, not every picture will have these kind of details on them. I do like to, if I can, get the details that I can see in. So I'm just adding a few extra kind of lines in there as well. I can see. And there, can you see the difference that's made? So we've got all that detail just from that one tool. Great, isn't it? So I'm just going to carry on doing that, where I can see any detail on these petals. I am going to go around and just put that in as best I can. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, and you don't even need to do this. This is just my preference and something that I'm a stickler for detail, and I do love to put all the details in. So I'm just going to go around and add some of these details in here. And this one here, quite a few sort of lines going on that one, like so. This one here, and there are quite a few kind of lines and curves and things going on here, and a few spots. So I'm just going to add those in where I can see them. It really is a great tool. They're not very expensive, and if you're thinking of doing coloured pencil, I really do recommend getting one. They take a little bit of getting used to. There's a certain angle that you have to hold the blade at. I'm sure you can see. It's got I don't know how close I can get without that blurring out. It's got a little tiny flat end to it, and that's the end that I'm using. You can turn it, and use it. You've got a thinner line one way and a thicker line the other way. But like I said, for fur, it's great. It's a great help for fur. And for things like this, it's also great. So now on this one, I've got quite a few things going on because we've got those lovely stripes. Just going to define the edge of the stripes really now. Those stand out a little bit more. And I think that is more or less done. And I am more than happy with that as the flower. Now, finally, you will have a little bit of dust coming off of there, so just lift that up with your eraser. I did actually find a brand new kneadable eraser yesterday when I went in. I knew I had one somewhere. I'm still using the old one though at the moment. So let's just lift that dust before it starts smudging everywhere. Okay, now the final part of the flower is the stem. There's not much to it really. I am going to use, I think this is walnut. No, this is burnt sienna and a walnut brown. So first of all, I'm just going to come down the stem with an even kind of light coverage of this walnut brown, which actually looks quite dark on here. And it's only a little stem, so I wouldn't worry too much. Just obviously the flower's attached to something. It'd look a bit odd if we didn't put the stem in. So I'm just going to come down there with that. I'm now going to come in with the sienna, and it is burnt sienna. Walnut brown is 177. So burnt sienna, 283 burnt sienna. Okay, I'm going to come down now with burnt sienna along the one edge here and blend that into the walnut brown. And then on the other edge, I don't know if you can see it in the reference photo, but there is it's not completely straight. It's kind of a little bit jaggedy. So I'm just putting the indication of that little jaggedy edge on there. I'm going to put another stripe almost down the centre in the burnt sienna. And then I'm coming in with this lovely colour, which I use an awful lot on animals. It is Caput Morton Violet, number 263. And I am going to put some of that towards the top edge as a little shadow of under the flower. And I'm just going to go over that jagged edge there. And then completely over all of that, I am going to come in with burnt ochre, which is 187 burnt ochre. And I am just going to come and blend everything together that we've just put on there. So completely over the top of everything, giving it a nice blend. This is quite a dark stem for a flower, isn't it? I expected it to be green, but actually not. So we're going to give that a nice blend, just as we did before. And then over the top of that, to completely get rid of the tooth of the paper, I have got raw umber, and that is number 180. And I'm just going to go over with the raw umber, give everything a nice even blend. And I'm just going to come back in with a slice tool, as I did before, and I'm just going to put a little detailed line down the centre. Okay, so that's our stem of our flower done. And all that's left to do now is the star of the show, the little fuzzy bumblebee. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom right in so that you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm hoping that's going to be okay. We do want our pencils to be fairly sharp for the fuzzy bumble. So I'm just going to sharpen all of these so they can stop in again. So sometimes you need the sharpness of your pencils, and other times sharp pencils are not help at all. So it really does depend on what you're doing at the time. Okay, so to start Fuzzy Bumble, let's just take a look at him for a second. He has got the most fuzz apparent on the yellow sections of his body. The black is still fuzzy, but it's more apparent on the yellow sections. Obviously, we've got his wings, which are kind of folded over, and his little antenna and his little legs, which you can't really see, but we're going to put those in. There's one there and there's one about there. So first of all, we are going to come up to the sections of his body that would, I'm going to call them yellow and black, standard bumblebee. So that's how I'm going to refer to them. So on the sections that are going to be yellow, we are going to put, this is Ivory 103, and we are just going to put a layer of the ivory onto the sections of his body that would be yellow. Okay, just a nice even coverage. So we've got that section there. We've got this section here. And this here is the top of his leg. And we are just going to put a little bit onto there as well. And that will become apparent in a minute while we've done that. And then we've got this bit at the front here, which is also going to be the yellow colour. So we are going to put a layer of the ivory onto there as well. And just on the front of his face there, I'm going to add a little bit of ivory there too. Okay. I'm now switching over to the cream. Okay. And we are now going to start adding some cream fuzz, as it were. Just a few lines. Not going to be too noticeable, but just a few little fuzzy lines on top of the cream. Okay. Like that. And then I'm going to come in with the raw umber, which is number 180. And we are going to do the same thing, adding what looks like fur, so little tiny lines. And the trick with this is you don't want to do them all in a row. Anytime you do fur, you do not want to do them all in a straight row. We're going to add some more. Over the top of the light there. And we're going to add more over the top of the light there. Now we're going to come to the dark cadmium yellow, which is number 108. And we are going to add that over the top of that we've just put on there, adding to the fuzz. It doesn't really look like fuzz at the moment, but it will. Okay. And then we're going to come back in with the cream, ivory, sorry, which is 103. And we're going to add some lighter areas back over the top of the yellow. Okay. Hopefully you can see that okay. Now, we're going to switch to the darker areas. And we're going to come in with the walnut brown. Okay. And we're going to go really lightly over all the dark areas, Mr. Bumble. So just light pressure. Onto the darker areas. And when it comes to this section here, I'm just going to go off slightly with the fuzz. Same thing here, slightly overlapping the yellow with a few little lines to indicate that the fuzz is kind of going over the yellow parts. That makes sense. Do the same thing on this one. Bring a few of those lines over. We're aiming for a light coverage here. And then this section, just above his wing, we're going to darken. And then we're going to come up the fluffy, fuzzy lines. And it kind of want to bring that right the way up to the yellow and overlap a few little bits and pieces there, but not this area here. Okay, because that's his front leg. And on his head, we're going to darken his little head up. And we are just going to not go up to that little tiny light piece that we put in at the front there, because we're going to do something else with that. Now, we can at this point put his little antenna in, like so. Okay, you should have something that looks like that. I'm going to come over the top of that with some Kappa Morton Violet, which is 263. And we are going to repeat the process. We're just going to come over the top. Little circles, blending the two colours together. And then when you get to the edge, just going to flick the little fuzzies over the edge. And same here. We're blending the two colours together. And then on the edge, we're just going to bring the fuzzies over. Same thing here. And same thing here on the bottom part of his head there. Bring the edges over, like so. Okay, now we want to get his little legs in. Now, to start his little legs off, we are going to, believe it or not, we're going to come in with the cream, which is number 102. And we are going to just put an indication of where these little legs are. So he's got one back here. He's got one that kind of is coming down here. This is the top part of his leg here. And then the other part of his leg comes down there. And at the front, this is the front part of his leg here. Colour that in. And we're just going to come down. You're probably thinking, what are you doing? It's not noticing. And you'd be right, but there is a reason that we're doing it. Now, while we've still got this in our hand, on the front of his head, we are just going to fill that in, and we're going to kind of blend it in with the dark colour. Can you see? It's kind of mushing the two lines together there, like that. Okay. Now we're going to come in with walnut brown again. Okay. And we're going to put his legs in properly. Now, the reason that we came over with the cream first is because there is quite a lot of cream on these legs. Now, we want the cream to kind of show through. So that's the reason that we put the cream there first. So his legs come in little sections. So the first section is about there. And then it comes down. And this part is darker. It comes down there like that. And then it's just got a little kind of end. Like so. So that's his first leg in. Right, and we're going to add just a little touch more to his head there, actually, because that comes back a little bit further there. Just give him a little bit more fluff there. Okay, and then this leg, this is the top of the leg again, and it's got this cream kind of undertone to it. So we want to try and preserve a bit of that. And then we've got a section again that comes down kind of like that, and that's quite dark, that section, so I would just colour that dark, and then the rest you can't actually see, it's going into the flower. And then he's got one that comes just kind of buried under there. So we're just really giving an indication of where his legs are, you know, we're not being too precise here. So that's essentially his little legs in their proper kind of area. A bit more fuzz there. Now for the final stage of this bumble, we're going to come in with the black, which is number 199, and we are going to darken up all of this section here, not going right to the edge. We want that to be quite light, and same here, we want this to remain lighter than what we're about to put on. So if I start here and show you, right up against his wing, we want to be quite dark, and we want to take it kind of to there. We don't want to go right up to the edge, and we want to bring it around here. And then same thing underneath his wing, we want to go quite dark. So blending in the previous colours. Now don't forget his leg is here, so don't cover that up. And we want to bring it down, but not right to the edges. So the centre part is going to be darker. Okay, I hope that made sense. There's a reason we're doing that. And then at the back here, again, we want the centre to be quite dark, but we don't want to go right up to the edge there. Okay, you could even, if you want to, darken up his little leg there. Make that stand out a little bit more, like so. We can add a little bit His face at the front there, like so. And then we are going to come back in with our walnut brown, which is number 177. And on those edges where I told you not to go, we are now going to go from the black to the edge, making the little fuzzies kind of blend out from the black over the yellow. And over just over the edge of the red there, so it looks like he's on the edge of the flower. Okay. We're going to add a few little dark patches in amongst the yellow fuzz. That's just to create a little bit of depth and shadow there. Okay. And finally, going to come over with white, which is 101, and I'm going to add some white onto this fluff. Just to add a few little kind of highlights to his fur there. I'm going to use the trusty slice tool to create the fluff. So very carefully, I am going to come in to the yellow first. I'm going to do the lights first. And I am just going to bring the fluff over the edge of the black there. Hope you can see that. And that just adds just a little bit more texture to our little bumble. Just take off any dust that we've got going on. And the final touch for our little buzzy bee is his wings, of course. Now, obviously his wings are quite light and they are overlapped here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to come over now. I know it's white paper, but I'm going to come over with 101 number 101 white, and I am just going to give that a layer. And that is because when I put the details in with the slice tool afterwards, there is a layer of white underneath that will show through. So if you put a layer of white first, a bit like those those art scratch things that you buy the kids. It's a bit like that. So when you put the colour underneath and then you use the slice tool, the colour will show. As long as you don't go too heavy-handed with it, of course. So I'll put a layer of white on there. And then I'm coming in with the cold grey, which is number 231. And we're just going to give an indication of veins, I suppose, on the wings, just to give an indication that they are kind of there and overlapping, as it were. So I'm going to put that in like that. And then hopefully when I come over with the slice tool now to add a few more details, what we'll get is we'll get that white kind of shining through there. That will just make it just a little bit brighter to bring those little veins and things out on his wings. And I do believe that he is done. Now you could fiddle around as much as you like. You can add more layers. Coming back over with the Kappa Morton Violet. Just a little bit more colour there. So I'm sure you've realised that even though he looks black and yellow, as with most animals that you draw, you'll find that there are all sorts of colours in there. I mean, my favourite is white cats and white dogs. They have so many purples, pinks, blues. You wouldn't believe the colours that you can see in there. I can actually, looking at this bumblebee now, I can see a little bit of pink on that wing. So I'm going to come in, I think, maybe this coral pink. I can see just on the edge of his, I think it's the reflection from the petal of the flower, but I can definitely see some pink there. So I'll just add a touch of that and then give that a blend in with a white to give an indication of that reflection there. So once you start looking at details of things, you will really pick up the most unusual colours that you wouldn't believe were in these animals. I mean, for instance, a dog's nose. I don't think I've ever drawn a picture of a dog and added a black nose. There are so many different colours that go into, animal fur and things. So, yeah, there we are. We are finished with our bumblebee. I'm going to try and manoeuvre this while I'm recording, which I wouldn't normally do. Hopefully, you can see him there in all his glory, having a right old time collecting some pollen on that flower, that lovely flower. I wish I knew what flower it was, but I don't. But yeah, all the detail that we're putting on the flower and everything else. So I really hope you enjoyed that, guys. I'm just going to let this go down again and come in. There he is. There he is. Quite difficult to manoeuvre it while I'm recording. I do hope you've enjoyed that little quick I know it was a quick tutorial. It's only meant to be a beginner's tutorial, but you will end up with something that looks half decent. And hopefully that's given you a good idea of blending colours and things like that, which is what it was all about, really. It was a good lesson. It was a good lesson to learn how to go lightly with your colours and how to add the different colours to get the colour that you need. I mean, I didn't have the colour of that flower. I did not have it in a pencil, and nor would I have used it if I had. I still would have added lots of layers, but it's nice, the effects you can get by layering the pencils and the effects you can get by using things like the slice tool. It's just great. It really is great. And a few more pictures, you'll be away, you'll completely understand. It took me a little while to get it. I was used to pastels, which you might think, well, pencil's pencil, but it's a completely different medium. I do love pastels. I really do love pastels. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've all got a little fuzzy bee on the go. And my next tutorial is going to be a beautiful little autumn picture of a hedgehog nestled in some leaves. That will be a bit more in depth. I'm really looking forward to that one, seeing as the weather is changing as well. It'll be nice and seasonal, won't it? And he's cute as well. I will pop a picture of him up on the community wall so you can see. If you go to the community section of my YouTube channel, keep an eye out for the hedgehog and you will see him. But for now, we are finished with our little bumblebee, all we need to do is to take him off, clean him off, put him in a mount, stick him in a frame, put him in the loo, maybe? I don't know. I've actually got a red kitchen, so that would, well, we've got red accents in the kitchen. I haven't got a red kitchen, but that would probably be quite nice in the kitchen, in a little frame. And it's only 8x8, so it'll fit nice in one of those little frames. So thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this tutorial and you want to see more, and you want to view the hedgehog tutorial when it comes, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and make sure that when you hit the subscribe button that you hit the bell icon. It'll come up with a little bell icon, and then select all, and then you won't ever miss a post. So yeah, if you could do that, that would be great. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving me a thumbs up, because that tells YouTube that you enjoyed my video and pushes it out to more people, which is obviously helpful to me. I really enjoyed this quick little tutorial. It was nice. It was nice to show the different techniques, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And I will see you all in the next one, guys. Bye.